the time has come to work on the headliner for the Tanzer 29. As you can see, it's nice and cold on the boat, but we're not going to do a lot of spraying today, but I'm going to show you some of the layout stuff. We're going to make some templates, and I'm going to show you a few of the tools that you're going to need to do this job. You really actually don't need much. I'm going to use a lightweight hull liner material. You can get it from Sailrite. There's also a couple other places you can get it a little cheaper, but it's a lightweight material. You see it a lot on RVs, boats, campers, things like that. It has a really good stretch one direction and not so much the other, which is actually kind of nice, and you can use that to your advantage. I'll show you how to do that while we're installing. But I want to show you my setup, what to use for adhesive, what tools you need, and how to go about making templates. So let's get started with that, and then later on in the video we'll be actually spraying and putting it in. I'll show you how to use the spray, how to apply it properly. There's a few things to do with that. So let's get to it. All right, so we're going to start on this port side, and we're going to do a layout. I'm going to make a template, cut out the piece, and we'll put that one in. So when you do this project, you really need a good area for layout, and I need to add a little bit to this because I'm going to need it a little bit longer. As you can see, I want to be able to lay these pieces out flat when I go to spray them. I like to use this resin paper as opposed to cardboard because I can wrap it around stuff. I can also lay it out down here, which is where I'm actually going to spray it. But I also like it because it's really easy to make templates with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline all of this in blue tape. Then I'm going to tape the rosin paper to it, trimmed up. I'm going to get a template, and I'll pull it off, and that'll be what I cut my fabric out. So you got to make sure you have a good sharp pair of scissors. If you do not have a good sharp pair of scissors, this job will be a pain. So make sure you got good scissors, blue tape, some good paper or cardboard to make templates out of for the first stage here. So let's go ahead and get started with this template. So you may be asking, why did you put the tape on the sides instead of on the area that you're getting ready to make a template for? And that's because oftentimes when you take the old stuff off, nothing's going to stick to it. So as a result, this isn't going to stick to that. I put the tape on something that I know it will stick to. Then I'm going to put the template or the resin paper on this and then trim out around it. And then that will give me a pretty good idea. These don't have to be perfect because what you're going to do is you're going to stretch and fold this material when you go to install it. You'll also have a couple spots that you got to cut around to get it to slide in. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to get a general idea, and that's what your template is for. So one of the nice things about this lightweight hull material that we're going to take a look at in a minute is that it stretches one direction very well. You might get 3-4 inches of stretch over 2 feet in one direction when you stretch it that way. What's nice about that as opposed to vinyl that doesn't stretch is that my templates don't have to be super critical. They don't have to be perfect. I can get them pretty close. I like to leave them a little over because I'm going to trim it down anyway. So you can see the template's pretty crude, but let's lay it out on the fabric. I'll show you the fabric. We'll cut it out. We'll lay it in. So this material has two sides. It's got a back side, which is kind of this flatter, and then it's got that side, which has a little bit more of the texture to it. So this is the side you're going to glue. That's the side that's going to be the exterior of it. It comes in these large rolls. They fold them over. So what I'm going to do is roll out what I need to make the piece for this template. We'll cut it out. So one of the things you have to make sure that you do is when you take your template down, that you put your template down on top of the material before you cut it in the correct orientation. So this is the back of it, and I'm going to make sure that the back is up. I have to make sure that the fabric back is up. If I do that, it's going to translate. I'll get the correct shape. If you don't, You may cut it wrong, especially if you have a bend or a twist or a cutout that you're putting in it, and then you're going to go put it on and you're going to realize you got it wrong. You may have to end up getting more material. So make sure that the orientation of your template is right. Double check it before you do any cutting. I like to use a Sharpie marker to mark this out. You can also just lay the template down if you're doing enough overlay. I like to put a couple inches of overlay in it so that I have that room, and then I trim it as I install. Let me show you what that looks like. So I've got everything masked off. We're in pretty good shape on that. Getting ready to spray the two substrates, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what to use. 3M has a product called Super Trim Adhesive. You want to look at the bottom of the can, and you want to find this 8090. This 8090 is the best stuff on the market that I've found to use. Other people may have some suggestions of what they use, but this stuff is fantastic. Make sure that you shake it vigorously for a long time before you use it. You want to, good 2-3 minutes of shaking, get everything mixed up. And you don't want to do this when it's too cold. Now the sprayer on there is actually pretty nifty. It's got this little fixture here, and you can have it vertical, or you can turn it. And when you turn it, it changes the direction of the fan. So I can turn this, and where before it was vertical, now it's horizontal, and that horizontal will put a horizontal fan. If you turn it vertical, it will spray it in a vertical fan. So this is good stuff. I'm going to show you how to use it. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to spray a good healthy layer on the material that you're going to stick to the hull. Then you spray a good layer on the hull. You let it sit for 3 to 4 minutes, and then you're ready to work it. And then I'll show you what I do to trim as we go. Do this when it's a little bit warmer if you can. It will work a little bit better, but I've done it in temperatures. It's 45 degrees on the boat right now, and it will work just fine. So anyways, let's get to it. Now that I got it generally laid in, you can see it conforms pretty well. I've got most of it pushed up. I'll go back through and make sure I get all of this, but the next step is this little guy is your friend. So I'm going to do all the trimming with a blade. You're going to want a little pack of these because you're going to do it a lot. It's better than pulling it back down and trying to trim it with scissors. I just like to use a razor blade. So this is how it goes. So in the back, I'm going to use the edge of the scissors. Get it pushed back in there the best I can. Then I'm going to come through and trim. And I'll find a spot where I can come on. This down as I cut. Always cut away from your slot. And come back to it. So inevitably you're going to come across a spot where you just didn't get it right. There's a little bit of a gap. It's easy if it's overlaid because you can cut it away, but when there's a gap you got to do something different. What I like to do, especially around parts where we got things coming through the deck, such as this guy right here, I'm going to make a patch, and the patch is just going to go around it, and it's really easy to do. So here's the patch put in place. I knocked the corners off to make it look a little bit more planned and finished. There's it's taped up. I'm going to seal that down. We're going to spray that area with glue. I will spray the back side of this one again with glue, and we'll put it in place. And here's our finished product. Nice little liners in there, and you see it conforms to everything that's there. We're going to do some sanding on this wood, so I'm not going to put the trim piece back on until I'm done, but this is the first portion. So that's the port side. We've got starboard, and we've got the V-berth to do as well. So we'll get all that done and show you some finished pictures of what that looks like later. Well, I hope this gives you a pretty good idea how to work with this lightweight hull material, the hull liner. It really is a good product. It's much easier to work with than the vinyl or the foam-backed vinyl. It's lighter, so it's easier to put it up in place. You can see I didn't have to hold it in place. I just shove it on there and it's going to hold, and then I can work my edges. I will say if you are replacing a hull liner that had the foam-backed vinyl and you've got foam all over the fiberglass, you're going to have to clean all of that foam off. Can't have any remnants of the foam, otherwise it's not going to stick well. I found that the 3M green abrasive pads work pretty well, especially if you can get one for a cordless drill. Wear a mask, you don't want to be breathing that stuff, and really you don't want to be breathing the fumes of this 80-90 3M product either. Once it gets to the point where I'm going to do the rest of the boat, I'll have a mask on, and that way I don't breathe too much of it in. So hope this has been helpful for you. I hope you guys get a good idea of how easy this stuff is and a couple of tricks to the trade. And if you have any questions about this process, feel free to post them in the comments or send me a message and I'll get back to you. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.